Hi guys, this is Rick from Rick's Laser Designs. I want to go over a couple of things with you as far as using your fiber laser and deep engraving. You don't have to have a depth map or a height map. Now those come in handy. If you had one and you were going to say engrave on a coin or slate or stainless steel or something, those basically are designed specifically for that, but they don't have to be designed specifically for that. Meaning you can use any bitmap or JPEG to get your results that you're looking for. The reason why I mention that is because I've done it. I'm not just speaking on something that I've heard or that I read. I've actually done it. You can do it with just a regular image. What happens is a laser, it doesn't matter what you're putting it in, if you're putting it on wood or if you're doing acrylic or you're doing steel or slate, what have you. What a laser does is a laser puts most of its emphasis on the darker part of the image, whatever the darker part is. So if your image has, say for example, 106 different shades of gray, right? Because it only does it in gray, we're not talking in color. So if it has 106 different shades of gray, that means there's going to be, if you go with 3D slicing, if you want to make a three-dimensional image in whatever you're doing it in, it goes with 126 different layers of heights of three-dimensional burns processing. The reason why I mention this is because the darker the part of the image, the deeper the engraving will be. The lighter, the less the engraving will be. I've done this with several things. I've done it with just regular JPEGs. You don't have to convert stuff over to a bitmap or height map. If you do, there's nothing wrong with that. It actually makes it a little bit more of an emphasis, but you don't necessarily have to do that. Let me give you an example. This is just one of the slates that I did. I've actually been using it so it's a little dirty. But if you notice, I put my name on here. And if you see, it's three-dimensional. It's actually sunken in where my name is, and around my name, which was darker in the image, it's actually sunken even further around my name. This goes down, I don't know if you can tell by this, this goes down about a 1/4 inch. Now, I didn't go as far down as I could have, which means I could have went through this entire stone, completely through it, and pulled my name out of there. But I did go down far enough to make it where it's quite obvious, right? All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you where I get my images, where I get words made out. It's free, it's online. You get to choose some different fonts, you get to choose some different styles, and let me show it to you now. So what it is it's called Cool Text. Just type in Cool Text and it'll pull it up, right? It's cooltext.com. And you go in here, and let's say I wanted to make it underneath these letters. These are the letters that I want to use. It's always going to put an advertisement because it's free. Just close that advertisement out. And the word skate is right there. So let's just put Rick, right? Put Rick, that's what it's going to look like. You can make your size different. You can actually change the font, but actually you're changing it from skate. It's no longer skate, right? But you can change the font. Well, let's say I want to make this larger. Let's say I want to make this 150 or 600, heck. 600 is huge. Okay, right click on it, click save, and then save it to your, wherever you're saving it to, your default spot that you're saving it to. Then when you burn this image, you notice this black right here, and then these little spots. These are all going to come out the deepest, and everything else will come out lightest. Even when I convert this over to gray image. So let's convert it over to a gray image. So I'm over here in Lightburn. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to import this. And by the way, it makes the background transparent each time, right? So I'm going to make this a little bit smaller so we can see it better, right? So I'm going to, just small enough so you can see. You know how it automatically makes it into gray. So everything that's the darkest is going to be the deepest engraving. Doesn't matter if you're doing it in stone or if you're doing it in kind of any kind of metallic object. That's going to be the deepest engraving. And the darker colors, which is going to be these little spots here, are going to be the deepest engraving. And it's going to lighten up as it goes up towards the top of the letters here. And then you're going to see the shadow. That's going to be a little bit deep engraving as well. Not quite as deep as the other one. All right, so now I've got it all set up here in Lightburn. I want to give you kind of tips and tricks here of what I have learned, right? So you want to left click on this, make it highlighted. You want to right click. This is where the important part comes in. You want to right click on it. You want to go down to adjust image. When you go down to adjust image, it's going to show you the image of what is actually on your screen here in Lightburn, and then what it's going to do once it's done burning it. You can adjust contrast, you can adjust gamma, things like that in order to make this darker or lighter, what have you. This is the important part. Over here it says image mode. You want to be in 3D slicing. If you do it in grayscale, it's just going to make a flat image like you would on any coaster, whether it be cork or slate or anything else. It's just going to make a flat image, which does not look bad. But if you want to do a 3D image, you want to go down to 3D slicing, and that will actually cut into it. What I like to do is make sure that I'm running at about 1,000 DPI, dots per inch. If you had something like 200 dots per inch, let me show you what it's going to look like. It looks kind of rough. It doesn't look as sharp. Edges don't look as sharp. So we're going to run it at 1,000. That's where I like to run things at. You notice as I put that in there, and of course I didn't type it right. As I put it in there, it actually adjusted itself, right? So we're at, not 100, I want to go to 1,000. 1, 2, 3, dot 0, okay. So there we are. We're at 1,000. It'll default to a different number sometimes. What's also important is line interval. On my laser, everybody's laser is a little different. On my laser, it's a 30-watt fiber optic laser. I run at 0.025. You can turn your image negative. You know it's going to be pretty much all dark, but we don't want it pretty much all dark. We want to go with this, what we have now. We're going to click OK and save that. Left-clicking on everything. Here's a little trick that I found. This has to be highlighted. I'm going to go over here to frame. Now when I frame it, it's not going to be exactly where I want it to be. You can hit your left arrow right, up and down in order to put it where you want. But if you want to go with smaller increments of movement, hold the left control button down and then just tap it a little bit, and it will actually move really small increments to where you want it to be. So right now, I'm going to show you the coaster that I'm putting it on. I am actually going to be putting it on a used piece of coaster that I had with my name on it as well, but I'm actually going to do a 3D burn on it. I'm going to go ahead and close that because we're aligned, we're good to go on everything. Now, my laser likes to run frequency 46, or at least I like to run it because that gives me the best results. And then of course, I don't run at 100% power most of the time. I run at 90% power. Also, my speed, I like to go at about 17,000, which is great. I'm going to put it at 100 passes, but I probably won't let it go anywhere near 100 passes. And then, of course, I'm back to 0.025, which is what you saw when I was in here, right? So now everything is ready to burn, and I'm going to go ahead and get it started, and then I'm going to show you what it looks like. All right, so now that I've got it all done, this is what it looks like. You saw what the image was to begin with. You can see this is a three-dimensional image. It's actually carved deep into the stone. Hope it focuses right. I think it will. You can actually see inside there, it looks like there are cracks, but they're not. That's actually the way it was carved. If you remember the image, it looked like it had cracks in it because it was stone, and it actually has those cracks in here, which actually aren't cracks. One thing I can note for you is stone, when it gets hot, it will actually crack. So what I have is a plate. It's an aluminum plate where air could run underneath it and keep it nice and cool. And I have a fan. If you notice my fan back here, the fan is actually blowing down on it, keeping the stone cool, because the stone will crack. I've seen it crack underneath my laser because it just gets really hot. Now I carved almost completely through the stone. There's just a tiny bit left. I wanted to carve a little extra deep to kind of give you a little bit more of something to see in the camera, because it's kind of hard to see if it's not very, very deep in the camera. So I wanted to give you an idea, but just keep in mind, you don't have to have a depth map or a height map in order to get this done. Just make sure you're in 3D slicing. That's the key. I'll see you in the next video.